Argentina. You've probably heard of it. Tango, messy, juicy steaks. But here's the part most people don't realize. This country isn't just another South American destination. It's a land of extremes, contradictions, and stories so wild they almost sound made up. And by the time you finish this video, you'll see Argentina in a completely new way. Let's start with the land itself. Argentina is the 8th largest country in the entire world. That means it's bigger than India, bigger than Mexico, stretching across more than 1 million square miles. But size isn't what makes it shocking, it's the contrast. In the north, you've got subtropical jungles with roaring waterfalls like Iguazu that make Niagara look like a backyard fountain. Travel south and suddenly you're standing in Patagonia, wind-swept plains, glaciers, and mountains that look like they were carved by the gods. Keep going, and Argentina extends so far south it even claims a slice of Antarctica. Yes, Antarctica. Not many people know that Argentina is technically one of the countries staking a claim on the frozen continent. Then there are the Pampas, endless green plains where gauchos, the legendary South American cowboys, still ride. This land once powered Argentina's rise to wealth with cattle and agriculture, and along its Atlantic coast, nearly 3,000 miles of oceanfront. That's enough coastline to stretch from New York to California and back again. It's not just geography. It's like Argentina contains an entire world within its borders. Hot jungles, icy deserts, fertile plains, rugged mountains. No wonder explorers once thought this land was filled with riches. But geography was only the beginning of Argentina's story. Quick question. If you could live anywhere in Argentina, tropical north, glacier south, or the Pampas Plains, where would you choose? Drop your pick in the comments, I'm curious. Because as incredible as the land is, the real story of Argentina begins with how it got its name, and the silver dreams that lured empires across the ocean. The very name Argentina comes with a promise: silver. Back in the 1500s, Spanish explorers arrived on these shores chasing wild rumors of mountains filled with precious metal. They called the region Argentina, from the Latin word argentum, meaning silver. Imagine risking your life crossing an ocean just to chase a rumor. But silver wasn't what they found. Instead, they discovered vast plains, fertile land, and a population ready to resist. Over time, the colony grew, Buenos Aires was founded, and Argentina became a valuable jewel in Spain's empire. But the people here weren't content to stay under a crown thousands of miles away. Fast forward to the early 1800s. Europe is in chaos. Napoleon has shaken up Spain. Britain is flexing its muscles worldwide. Argentina seizes the moment. By 1816, the nation declares independence. But here's the twist. Independence didn't bring peace. Instead, Argentina was thrown into decades of civil wars, power struggles, and foreign invasions. The symbols of that fight for freedom still live on today. Take the flag, sky blue and white. Those were the colors worn by the locals who stood up against the British invaders in the early 1800s. And in the center, the sun of May. Not just decoration, it's a symbol of freedom, born from a revolution that forever changed the country. Every time an Argentine sees that sun, it's a reminder of what was won and what it cost. Argentina's story has always been one of resistance and resilience. They kicked out empires, they fought off invaders, they wrote their own destiny. What do you think is harder, fighting for independence, or actually keeping a country united once you've got it? Drop your answer in the comments. I want to see how you think. Because Argentina wasn't just born to be free. For a time, it was born to be rich. And what happened next shocked the world. Here's something most people don't know. Around the early 1900s, Argentina was one of the richest countries on Earth. Yes, you heard that right. Its economy rivaled nations like France and Germany. Immigrants from Italy, Spain, and all over Europe flooded into Buenos Aires, chasing opportunity. The city earned the nickname the Paris of South America, with its grand boulevards, opera houses, and cafes. If you had asked people back then which countries would dominate the future, Argentina would have been on that list. Vast farmlands made it a global breadbasket. Its beef and wheat fed half the world. Ships loaded with Argentine goods left its ports daily. carrying wealth overseas and bringing prosperity back home. Life in Buenos Aires was glamorous, elegant, even enviable. But here's the twist. The boom didn't last. The Great Depression hit in the 1930s, and Argentina's dependence on exports exposed its weaknesses. What followed was a cycle that would define the nation for decades. Moments of prosperity, followed by brutal collapses. By the late 20th century, hyperinflation ripped through the country. Imagine walking into a store to buy bread in the morning, and by afternoon, the price had doubled. At one point, inflation hit over 3,000% in a single year. People carried bags of cash just to buy groceries. Savings vanished overnight. Trust in the government and economy shattered. And it didn't stop there. Repeated financial crises brought Argentina to the edge again and again. In 2001, the economy collapsed so violently that the government froze bank accounts, leaving millions unable to access their own money. The streets of Buenos Aires filled with protests, pots and pans banging in anger. Let me throw this at you. Could you survive in a country where prices change daily? Where money loses value faster than you can spend it? Yes or no? Drop it in the comments. What's fascinating is that despite these collapses, Argentina always finds a way to bounce back. It's a country that rises, falls, and somehow rises again. And in the middle of that cycle, one thing always stayed constant. An obsession so powerful it united the entire nation: football. If there's one thing that can stop Argentina in its tracks, it's football. And calling it a sport here would almost be an insult. It's closer to a religion. Streets empty out during World Cup matches. Families gather around TVs, and stadiums shake under the weight of chants, drums, and fireworks. Two names define Argentina's football identity: Diego Maradona and Lionel Messi. Maradona wasn't just a player, he was a phenomenon. His hand-of-God goal against England in the 1986 World Cup is still debated to this day. A mix of genius and controversy, Maradona represented the passion, flaws, and brilliance of Argentina all in one body. He could pull off a move that seemed impossible, then light up a stadium with his celebration. But his story was also filled with personal struggles, making him even more human, and even more adored. Then came Lionel Messi. If Maradona was chaos and fire, Messi is precision and perfection. Small in stature, quiet in nature, yet unstoppable on the field. For years, the one criticism he faced was never winning a World Cup for Argentina. Then, in 2022, he finally lifted that golden trophy, cementing his place as not just Argentina's hero, but perhaps the greatest player of all time. The scenes in Buenos Aires after that victory? Millions of people flooding the streets, chanting Messi's name. It was the kind of celebration that only Argentina could deliver. But football here isn't just about idols, it's about rivalries that cut deep. Boca Juniors versus River Plate, for example. This isn't just a game, it's war. Families split loyalties, entire neighborhoods divided. Matches between them are so intense that stadiums have seen riots, fights, even deaths. It's a reminder that in Argentina, passion comes with both beauty and danger. Let me ask you this. If you had to choose, are you Team Maradona or Team Messi? Drop your answer in the comments. I'm curious which legend wins in your eyes. Because while the world knows Argentina for football, that's only one piece of its identity. Another cultural export, born in the shadows, banned as immoral, then embraced worldwide, would take Argentina from the streets of Buenos Aires to the global stage. And that was tango. Long before Argentina was famous for Messi, it was famous for something else: tango. And believe it or not, tango didn't start out as the glamorous ballroom dance we see today. It was born in the late 19th century in the crowded immigrant neighborhoods of Buenos Aires. Back then, tango was raw, emotional, and a little dangerous. It was danced in bars, street corners, and brothels, a mix of African rhythms, European melodies, and Argentine soul. At first, the elites hated it. They called it immoral, indecent, something only for the lower classes. In fact, tango was banned in certain circles. But here's the irony. When young Argentines took tango to Europe, especially Paris, the dance exploded. Suddenly, the very thing Argentina's elites rejected became one of the most fashionable dances in the world. Eventually, Argentina had to embrace tango as its own. Today, it's recognized by UNESCO as part of the world's cultural heritage. But tango is just one part of Argentina's cultural story. The country has given the world brilliant writers like Jorge Luis Borges, whose stories bent reality and reshaped literature. It's produced cinema that wins Oscars, and musicians who mix folklore with modern sounds. Culture here isn't just entertainment, it's survival, an expression of identity through every crisis and every triumph. Walk through Buenos Aires, and you'll hear the echoes of tango on one street, then stumble upon a rock concert the next. Argentina's creativity is endless, fueled by its history of immigration and struggle. Be honest, when you hear the word Argentina, what comes to your mind first? Tango, football, or steak? Drop your answer in the comments. I want to see which side wins. If tango is the rhythm of Argentina's heart, then beef is the flavor of its soul. Here, eating steak isn't just dinner, it's tradition, ritual, even identity. And nothing captures that better than the asado, Argentina's legendary barbecue. Picture this: a grill piled high with ribs, sausages, and thick steaks, sizzling slowly over wood fire. Friends and family gather around, passing chimichurri sauce, laughing, telling stories. The gaucho, the cowboy of the Pampas, made this way of cooking famous. And for centuries, the open plains of Argentina have been home to millions of cattle, feeding not just a nation, but the world. For Argentines, beef isn't about luxury, it's about pride. In fact, Argentina has long ranked among the top countries in the world for beef consumption. It's not unusual for an Argentine to eat steak multiple times a week. And it's not just the quantity, it's the quality. Grass-fed cattle from the Pampas give the meat a unique, rich flavor that people travel across the globe to taste. But steak is only half the story. The other half is in the glass. Argentina is the birthplace of world-class Malbec wine. Once overlooked in Europe, Malbec found its true home in Argentina's high-altitude vineyards. The result? Bold, rich, velvety wines that put Argentina on the global wine map. Today, Malbec is practically synonymous with Argentina. Together, asado and Malbec aren't just food and drink, they're a way of life, a symbol of gathering, resilience, and joy, even in the toughest times. Because no matter how many economic crises hit, Argentines will always find a way to light a fire, pour a glass, and share a meal. Here's a fun one. If you could only choose one, would you rather taste Argentina's famous steak or sip on a glass of its Malbec wine? Comment below. I'm curious where your taste buds lean. But as much as Argentina is known for its food and hospitality, there's another side to the story. A side filled with protests, power struggles, and politics that have shaped and shaken the country again and again. Argentina's history isn't just written in silver or celebrated with football, it's fought out in politics. Few countries swing between hope and chaos as dramatically as Argentina. And no story shows this better than the rise of Juan and Eva Perón. Juan Perón, a military officer turned politician, came to power in the 1940s. He promised to stand with the working class, giving them better wages and social benefits. His wife, Eva, known to the world as Evita, became a legend of her own. She rose from poverty to become a powerful voice for women and the poor, adored by millions. Even after her death in 1952, her legacy has remained almost saint-like. To this day, you'll see her face painted on buildings in Buenos Aires, a reminder of how deeply she touched the nation. But politics in Argentina is rarely stable. After the Peróns came decades of upheaval, military coups, dictatorships, and waves of protests. One of the darkest chapters was the so-called Dirty War of the 1970s. Thousands of Argentines disappeared, taken away by the military regime. To this day, mothers still march in Buenos Aires' Plaza de Mayo, demanding answers about their missing children. Their silent protests became one of the most haunting symbols of Argentina's fight for justice. And then there's the economy. Every political era promised stability, but repeated financial crises kept fueling protests. In 2001, when the economy collapsed, Argentines flooded the streets, banging pots and pans in anger, a sound that became the voice of a people who refused to stay silent. What's striking is that protests in Argentina aren't occasional, they're part of life. Teachers, workers, students, unions, when something goes wrong, the streets fill with banners and chants. Democracy here isn't passive, it's loud, messy, and alive. Imagine this. Your government suddenly freezes your bank account, your savings are gone, and inflation is out of control. Would you take to the streets in protest? Yes or no? Drop it in the comments. Because Argentina's fight hasn't just been inside its borders. On the world stage, it has faced conflicts, stood up to powers, and made bold claims that still spark controversy today. For a nation shaped by passion and struggle, Argentina has never stayed quietly in the background. On the world stage, it has always fought to make its presence known. Take the Falklands, or as Argentines call them, Las Malvinas. In 1982, Argentina shocked the world by launching a surprise invasion of the islands, which had been controlled by Britain for over a century. The conflict was short but intense. Britain sent warships. Argentina fought fiercely, and within weeks, the war was lost. The cost? Hundreds of lives and a national wound that still hasn't healed. To this day, ask any Argentine about the Malvinas, and you'll see the fire in their eyes. The belief that the islands are theirs hasn't gone away. But Argentina's role in global politics isn't just about war, it's also about identity. This is a nation with European roots and Latin American spirit. Walk through Buenos Aires and you'll feel like you're in Paris or Madrid. But listen to the music, watch the football, feel the energy. It's undeniably Latin American. That mix makes Argentina stand out and sometimes stand apart from its neighbors. Economically and politically, Argentina has tried to punch above its weight. It's been part of international groups like the G20. It has pushed for alliances with countries like Brazil and China, and at times it's challenged the influence of the US. But each time Argentina seemed ready to rise as a global power, internal crises dragged it back. And yet, this is what makes Argentina so fascinating. It's not just a story of decline or of crisis, it's a story of resilience. No matter how many times Argentina falls, it always finds a way to rise again. Here's a question for you. Do you think Argentina's best days are behind it, or are they still ahead? Comment below. I'd love to see what you believe. Because Argentina isn't just a country, it's a contradiction. A place where struggle meets beauty, where passion meets chaos, and where history is written and rewritten over and over again. Argentina is a land of extremes. Jungle and ice, wealth and crisis, freedom and dictatorship, heartbreak and triumph. It's given the world legends like Maradona and Messi, cultural treasures like tango, and unforgettable flavors of beef and Malbec. But it's also carried the scars of war, the weight of economic collapse, and the constant fight to define its future. That's Argentina, complex, contradictory, and endlessly fascinating. And now the question is for you. What shocked you most about this country's story? Was it the silver dreams, the economic chaos, the passion for football, or something else entirely? If you learned something new, hit like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who loves history and culture. And don't forget to drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. Because Argentina isn't just a place on the map. It's a reminder of how a nation can fall, rise, and fall again, yet never lose its soul.